I forgot the intro. Well, here we are. So, welcome, guys, to the next part of this portfolio review. Today, we're going to take a look at the remaining five students that we have here on the list, and I just want to thank you guys. This is one of the I think this is one of my favorite series on the channel because I get to interact with your stuff, and I get to see how you guys are improving and submitting some amazing content. So if you want to be part of this, remember that every single month at the middle of the month, we do this process where you can submit your stuff and I can review it. The next one's going to be on January. At the end of this video, there's going to be a link on the description down here where you're going to be able to submit. So you can already start submitting for January. So if you're one of those guys that always forgets to do the things and waits until the very last second, make sure to hit the link. Just throw in our station link. If you want to leave me a message, that's fine. And I'll be sure to check your stuff. So yeah, let's get going. So yesterday, on yesterday video, we ended up with Endalk, and today we're gonna go with Agyaya. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. I'm sorry if I'm not. It's a little bit difficult to know all of the pronunciations in the world. So it says, "Hi Abraham, please look at my final card." I will. That's an FBX. That's a card, and this is the render. Ooh, this is a really pretty render. I really like this. I've seen this sort of stuff on Instagram quite a bit. This is more like again, stylized cartoon, simple stuff, but it looks really, really clean. And for certain things, for certain commercials or products, it works really, really well. I'm not sure what you mean by cart. Let's download this and see what we have here. Just give it a second for this to finish. There we go. Renders, textures, cart. Okay. Downloads. Cool. Let's take a look at the renders first. Oh yeah, I remember this one. We saw this on the last portfolio review. Okay, it definitely improved. I think the textures are looking a little bit better. The glossiness is still a little bit high. Um, but I can see that you did fix a lot of the stuff that I mentioned, so I'm happy for that. So yeah, make sure you go back to some of the textures, like this one's right here, and increase the roughness because usually cloth and wood and things like that, they tend to be quite rough, right? So you're not gonna see as much reflection unless they're wet. And you can see there's quite a bit of reflection here. I would also encourage you to change the render because the render again looks a little bit flat. So I would encourage you to try something a little bit more interesting. Maybe 2-point light setup, 3-point light setup, stuff like that. It's always a good idea. Yeah, yeah, I remember this concept. Yeah, cool. So I can see the textures here. Okay, let's take a look at the texture. Okay, here's another thing. You're trying to pack every single thing about the card into a single map. And the problem with that is, as you can see, as we get closer to like the stitches right here, we don't have enough pixels to do this. So for such a complex object as this card that you have right here, I would definitely have like 2 or 3 texture sets. So again, if we go back to the render, you could divide, let's say, all of the flying bits, like all of this upper section could be one map, and then all of this like main section could be a second map, and then all of this front section could be a third map. That's going to give you more resolution. Yes, it's going to be a little bit more performance heavy, but it's also going to give you a better portfolio piece. I think that would be my advice. Like, if you can divide this into multiple textures to get more resolution, check that out. Check the roughness values of your objects. Make sure you're connecting things properly because sometimes a lot of people forget that when you bring things into other softwares, you need to tweak certain things, change some textures to non-linear, or like change the values and stuff like that to make sure that they are displaying exactly as they did inside of Substance. So make sure you do that. And the render, check the render. I do have one video that I did. If you look here in the channel, you should find one where it says how to create like great portfolio renders. There was like this bust. I think that was like December last year. So you can try that one to get some more life into the render. A little bit of an extra punch there on the render will give you a really, really, really great result. So yeah, keep up the good work, my friend. Let's go now with Moaz Mammoth. Let's take a look at the text. Hi, Abraham. I am Moaz from Egypt. I'm 21 years old. First of all, I'm not that good at English, so I'm sorry if you struggle to understand me. So far, so good, man. No problem. I started 3D modeling in 2020, and I made some basic props like a mug, chair, hammer, lift and jack. LLC, etc. The topology in it is very bad. In 2021, I studied the Elemenza course, yeah. Because of that, I love the weapon designing, so I started with a tutorial on YouTube to model an AK-47. Then I started making designs without the tutorial with concept art on Google, such as the Sten gun, which I saw in Battlefield 5 and Car 98. Then in 2022, I focused on sci-fi guns because I like them a lot and they're interesting to model. I agree. So I made 5 different sci-fi guns. Before I started modeling guns, I tried to make a robot, but it was not that good, or I just felt it was not good enough. In these 2 years, I've been focused on modeling, so my textures and UVs are not that great, as you can see. When I open ArtStation and see the weapon modelers there, I feel like I'm far away from being a good weapon modeler. Now I think I'm lost with what I should do to apply for a job, and because I'm from Egypt, there's no game development company that I can apply for, so I need to know what I should do to improve myself and be good enough to apply for an online job or start freelancing. In these files, the only models with the tutorial are the AK-47 and the guitar. Okay, let's take a look. I'm gonna take a look at the things first, and then I'll talk about like jobs and stuff. Okay, good. It's really high poly. Like here's where things can get a little bit tricky, because you can see that this thing right here is really high poly, and then this thing right here is really low poly. So you want to keep things like at the same size. So if you're gonna go high poly, do everything high poly if needed. So that's one of the things. And do we have textures? Okay, just a simple material render. I can see the render is fine, and this could work like perfectly fine. It's a little bit simple on certain things. Like I would expect there to be a little bit more work on the texturing side of things. But let's take a look here. Sci-fi guns. Okay. More light. More light on the renders, because some things are a little bit dark. Fine. Again, high poly. High poly. Oh, okay. Well, I can see the concept here, and the concept is way more complex. As you can see, it has a lot of cuts and a lot of like indentations and a lot of like little thingies here and there, right? So that usually can be added in the texturing department. But if you can model that, you should try to model it. Like for instance, this hand like hole thingy, like all of this could be modeled inside of Maya. It's not that difficult to follow the topology here, as I did yesterday on the last part of the video, and try to model something that has the cut lines and everything, especially if you're going for this sort of realistic rendering approach. This one I like as well. It's a little bit simpler. It's not the best design, to be honest, and I can see that you did get quite close to it. Here's again where texturings could really help you with the renders. Props. Okay, again, really high poly topology. It's not bad. I would do the topology different on certain areas, because you can see it's really like stretch on a lot of like bits and pieces right over here. There's a little angon there. Angons are a no-go, no bueno. You could just cut from that point there to that point there, and that's just gonna remove the angon. It's gonna make things a lot easier for you on the long run. Oh yeah, before I continue, just a quick tip. Always try to name your stuff with names that are easy to understand. Because right now, I mean, it really doesn't matter. I'm just looking at the pictures. But if you were to present this and people are like desktop screenshot 2022 1017, it's a little bit difficult. Just call it Sci-Fi Gone 3 version A, Sci-Fi Gone 3 version B, or whatever. This is way more complex. I like this. I like this. I'm taking a look at the topology. Like that's the first thing I look for. And I look for the angons. There's an angon right there. There's an angon right here. Those you gotta be careful with. Again, they're not gonna destroy your things, especially if you're gonna bake this down into a normal map. It's not really that much of a problem, but you do want to minimize the amount of angles that you have. Yeah, it looks good. I mean, it looks good for a cinematic. It could even work again when you textures, but it could work as long as you have proper UVs. I think from like this first things that I'm seeing, that should probably be your next project. Like you should try and do UVs and textures, because I can see that you really know your modeling stuff, like all of these clean lines and everything. That's great, but again, people are not gonna hire you just to do modeling. Usually, a modeler is required to at least know the UV process as well. Sometimes there's gonna be modelers and then texturers, or they call them surface artists. Usually, it's all three. You have to do all three. I can see your progress though, which is great. This is great. Again, really high poly. If you want to go for games, which is what most people want to do when they do weapons, because it's where there's usually more weapons, right? You definitely need to know the low poly process as well. Because yeah, I can definitely see that you are like matching the concepts really nicely, like you're getting really close. But until we see the final like low poly, it's very difficult to very difficult to judge. Careful here. It's a lot of pinching here. Is it needed? That's the question we need to ask ourselves. Do we really need all of these topologies, or can we simplify? Because if we can simplify, we should simplify. Otherwise, it becomes a little bit tricky. I can see that these guys are complicated. Believe me, that's why I love doing a lot of like sci-fi stuff. It's not my like cup of tea. This is not bad. Yeah, a little bit of texture, and this could guy. Oh, sorry, a little bit of texture, and this guy could look really cool. It's not that bad actually. I know in your letter you mentioned that you didn't like as much. It's okay. Good. So I think you do have some strong models that you can work with a portfolio, but you need to finish the process. You need to UV and you need to texture them. Your rendering is actually not that bad either. Like things are presented in a nice way, but you need to texture it. It's unfortunately, if you want to do a prop artist, you need to know how to texture. So we do have some options available, and since we're already doing the promo, if you want to learn more about this, we do have the Substance Painter courses, and I do have a couple of courses as well. And you guys know where to check that, right? It's Skillshare.
Hey guys, Abraham here. I just wanted to remind you guys that we upload all of our courses to Skillshare. Skillshare is this amazing site where you can access a ton of different content to learn, improve, and grow as an artist. We have all of our courses available to watch and learn from right now in Skillshare. You can check the description down here, and Skillshare is offering 1 free month trial to their premium membership. With this membership, you're going to be able to access all of our courses and watch and learn all of the amazing things that we cover with all of the softwares. So, what are you waiting for? Check Skillshare down here below.
There we go. So let's move now with Josh Carver. Says, hello, I want to become a character modeler for toys collectibles. Great. Feedback is greatly appreciated. That's actually a really interesting like market nowadays. Because there's thanks to 3D printing and stuff, the accessibility to get or to do that is very, very interesting. I was gonna show you a 3D print, but it's somewhere. So nice. I really like this. This looks very cartoony. This looks very interesting. I'm not a huge fan of this style personally. I'm not saying it's bad. It's actually really well presented and really nicely sculpted. I think just pushing the lights a little bit more to get more highlights might be a good idea. It looks a little bit like is dull the right word? Like I usually like like harsh highlights or harder highlights, so that's why I'm saying it looks very cool. Curse to tell it to me. This one is my favorite, I think. Girk. I'd love to use this guy as a character in my D&D campaign. He could be like a magical goat or something. He's very very cool, man. I love this. It's simple and it's fun because there's a lot of games and projects and products that are a lot simpler than what we normally see. Like this is not a like the detail is not like God of War, right? But it's fine because again, there's markets for everything. That's one of the things that I like about seeing your message. The fact that you're already knowing or you already know that you want to go for toys and for collectibles. That's great. My advice would be 3D printing, I guess. Like, try to learn a little bit about 3D printing. Try to prepare some of these guys for 3D printing. Try to 3D print them a little bit and do prototypes. I have a good friend. Well, it's not. He's not like a super close friend, but we were together in school. His name is James Marsano. I mentioned him before here on the channel, and he is right now working as one of the lead designers for the collectibles for Riot Games for League of Legends and all that stuff. And he was like the I'm sharing the skills that he has so that you can like follow a little bit of his path. He is a really excellent like a ZBrush sculptor, but he's really well like trained in traditional sculpting as well, like clay. He knows how to create molds and how to like do all of the keying and all of the processes, how to like pour the resins and get like the air bubbles out, like all of that process. He knows how to do it. I think that would be like if I were on your shoes and if I had this specific like goal in mind, that would be my road. I would probably, if you don't have a 3D printer, I'll probably get myself a 3D printer and start playing around with that sort of stuff. Because for instance, like you could do this guy and like 3D printing, learn how to do molds, create molds for him, and do I don't know 30 of them and sell them. Try to sell them as a limited collection thing, right? And that way you can start like getting some money, and once your name is out there, it's a lot easier to go to a company, like a toy company, and be like, "Hey, I'm Joshua Carver. Remember Girk the Goat? I made that guy. He's like round and stuff. Like people have bought them or bought some of this. That's the kind of stuff that you want to do, and you definitely want to get your name out there. One of the easiest way to do it, and I think you could do it as well, is do some fan art. I normally don't encourage fan art for the traditional like game and film career, but for toys, well, that's what toys are, right? Like they're they're things that sell about the main thing, right? So if you're gonna do like maybe do like a chibi version of like Kratos from a God of War, or try to do a your own take on the like a character from Street Fighter or something. Like if you do things that are famous in your style, which I can see it's very very cool, very defined, then you're gonna get more exposure, and that's how you can get your foot on the door. I remember again James. He was when he was studying, he did like I don't remember the name, but this guy from Gargoyle. Let me see if we have his portfolio here. he's got some not safe for work stuff, so hopefully we don't get like banned stuff. Okay, it's hidden. Perfect. So I remember when he was at school, this was one of the things that he did. He did like the Dark Knight in resin, very very cool, like a modeling thing. And then he did from Gargoyles, he did a one of the characters. It's not here. At least I don't see it. And then he went to work. It wasn't slideshow. I don't remember where he worked, but as you can see, he did a lot of DC stuff, and then he jumped and did a lot of like anime stuff and this sort of like a more like Asian style stuff. And now he's working at Riot and he's doing like all of this stuff right here. So research about people that are doing what you want to do. Like reached out to them, like say, hey, I someone passed me your name, and I just want to ask you, do you have any advice? Like, show them your portfolio. That's how you get your foot on the door, and how do you get yourself known. You might not get an answer, you might get rejections. That's fine. It's part of life. But I think you're in a really good path, man. I love this one as well. Shell Hydra. Yeah, try to 3D print them. I think that would be a great first step. Congratulations, Josh. That's pretty cool. Tuto says, hello, sir. My name is Sajani Banerjee. I am a 3D artist from India. I'm a biggest fan of your tutorials. Thank you. I will submit my portfolio link below. If you give me feedback, it will be very helpful. I will give you feedback, and I hope it's very helpful, my friend. So, Sajani, let's go. Okay, so the first thing I see is there's a lot of viewport rendering, and as I've mentioned before, viewport rendering doesn't tend to be the best rendering because it doesn't show things with the best shadows and the best lights and stuff like that. I can also see that some pieces are a little bit simpler than others. So, for instance, this little guy right here, Apple, it's not a bad model, but it's also not the greatest model that you have. So I would probably take this one out because it's a simple thing, right? This one's actually not bad. 3D printing this mug. I would show. Okay, I'll probably show this one first. This sort of like bas relief stuff. So that one looks interesting. And then you do have some nice stuff like this cute Ganesha. I like this one, but again, having a better render will definitely help. Now, ZBrush just announced that they're going to be adding redshift onto the new things, and it's definitely going to help for this sort of like viewport renderings. Oh, this one's pretty cool. Avatar of Vishnu. Is this Vishnu? So yeah, I think rendering wise is what you might want to practice. Your anatomy is not that far off, to be honest. There's a couple of things that I would definitely like fix on some of the muscles, but the anatomy is not bad. I can see that you're doing a lot of ZBrush, which is great. But we need to be careful not to only do ZBrush because remember, ZBrush, even though they try to be like an all-inclusive pipeline thing for production, ZBrush is just one part of the production. I like this little dragon as well. And see, like if you took this little dragon and you brought it into Maya or Blender and you did the render there, you would get way more realistic shadows, way more realistic lighting, and that will give you a better result. There's a couple of things that are not completely finished, I think. Like this one right here. A little bit simple. Again, an HDRI, things like that would help. Like the bouquet that you're using is a little bit too strong. You lose pretty much all of the pieces. So there's things that we can improve, but I can see that you do know the basics of sculpting. Like all of this props right here. Yeah, like this thing. I'm not sure what this is. Like a Bina. Is that the name of this like instrument? Seems to be. Like this is a really good one. If you could retopologize it, texture it properly with Substance Painter, and then render it inside of Maya, you would have like an amazing looking asset. Um, or even just like poly painted or something. But yeah, rendering is definitely the thing that I would strongly recommend that you work on. And I did release this cinematic rendering or cinematic lighting course for Maya a couple of months ago. If you haven't gotten that one, I strongly recommend it. It's a really really strong one, and I think your renders are gonna benefit a lot from it. So yeah, keep up the good work, my friend. That looks really nice. And we're gonna go with Aviel Knife. Hi Abraham, hope you're doing great. My name is Aviel, and I want to be a hard surface artist. All my vehicles were I rebuilt them originally. It's not mine. Okay. Let me try to. I want to be a hard surface artist. All my vehicles were I rebuilt them again originally. It's not mine. They were created by a great concept artist, Homar Machedo. I just inspired and I want to remake them. I'm a beginner, so check my portfolio, please. Okay. Eritrea, my friend, you just I'm so ignorant. I don't know where Eritrea is. Okay. Interesting. I didn't know. So, well, one more student from one from another part of the world. That's amazing. So you are from Eritrea. Okay, so let's take a look. The secret. This is like a drone thingy. Lights. Again, I can see there's like an HDRI probably. Just add another key light just to get some nicer shadows and nicer contrast. The textures are a little bit too rough. Like they're a little bit too. It's too much, right? It's very dirty. It's a little bit difficult to understand what's going on. But the modeling looks good. Like the legs here, like we could definitely rig them and have an animation and stuff. That's interesting. And then this ones are really cool. Wow. Yeah. I'm sorry for my I am just very tired. um this is really nice, man. Like this clay render or this like ambient occlusion render is amazing. But I'm curious about what you meant on your letter about. Okay, so Homar is he's a is he a 3D artist or is he a yeah, he's a 3D artist. So this stuff is 3D art. So you were inspired by him. You did this from scratch? Because if you did this from scratch, this is really nice. Really, really, really nice. Really clean. A small nitpick. I'm sorry to say this. I hate being this guy, but freelance is with a Z, like in C. Freelance. Okay. Just, I mean, it's just a nitpicky thing. I know it's not your fault. English is not my first language either. Yeah. I mean, this is really cool, man. Like the modeling looks clean. I can see some, like for instance, the holes here they're a little bit stretched, which could be part of your design. I would love to see a wireframe, to be honest. I think a wireframe would be really helpful to understand how you're approaching this projects. But this looks really clean. Like the modeling looks really really strong. I think another thing is would be to sorry, another thing would be to texture this. Like texture this with actual like UVs and stuff because I can definitely tell that you're just using like Arnold materials, which is fine. For a very clean product renders, they look great. But it would be really interesting to see if you can UV this guys because that's how we are gonna know that we can go into this sort of like production pipeline effect, right? So yeah, this is amazing, man. I love this one. Really, really, really like this one. So again, another thing that I could suggest, just so that you have a little bit more variation on your portfolio, you already have three vehicles. Try doing a weapon. Try doing a robot. Try doing something organic or something not in this same line, so that you have more options and work from there. There was one question that I didn't answer before that was about like freelancing. One of the problems about freelancing, and that's it's one of the advantages and again disadvantages of like globalization is when you're freelancing you are like normally when you're in your local market you're competing against your local market. So if there's 3 3D artists or 4 3D artists on your city and a client needs something, he only has 4 people to choose from, right? But if you're freelancing, there's thousands of people out there. There's people everywhere in the world that could do the job. So you need to keep on practicing and you need to keep on building your skills so that you have one of the best offers, right? Like your portfolio should be really strong to be able to offer what the companies and the clients are looking for. How do you get out there? Great portfolio. Go into social media, post, comment, like let people know you're out there. Share stuff on Twitter, share stuff on Instagram. Like it's just getting your name out there. There's no other way. There's a lot of noise on the internet now with like TikTok and Instagram. There's a lot of like entertainment and just like sometimes I call it like empty content, right? Like it's not like as useful. It's just like entertainment and that's it. So due to that noise, you need to do as much as possible to get your name out there. Get your name out there on your local industries as well. That's gonna get you closer to things that are closer to you, and it could open up opportunities that are gonna be helpful on your career. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you very much for this portfolio review. Thank you for the submissions. I hope all my feedback was helpful to all of you guys. And remember, we're gonna have another portfolio review in January. So make sure to submit. Make sure to check the link down here below so that you can submit your stuff. And don't forget to share, like, subscribe. All of that helps the channel. Also, let me know in the comments what kind of stuff should we work. I think that the last week when we did the little like a full production thing was good. I'm thinking about doing a small little creature, like a cute creature for this week. Let me know if that's something that interests you guys. Or if there's any other thing you want me to explore, I'll be happy to do so. We're really getting really close to the Christmas week as well, to the Christmas special. So stay tuned for more news about that one. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you back tomorrow.